Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back. I think my mic is not in the right place. I'm going to get that adjusted. Hey, tip of the day while I'm adjusting here. Compliments and celebrations express your values. I often, as a therapist, am asked the question of like, one, how do I accept compliments? Because the truth is, we all go through these stages where compliments are hard to take. We're having a hard time. We don't feel confident in ourselves. Stuff is going on in our world. We've been hit with a lot of grief or loss. There's a lot of reasons why compliments could be very difficult to take. And celebrations become even more difficult. How can I celebrate when there's just crap going on in my world? And so today I want to dive in just a little bit here onto on the idea of compliments and celebrations. Let's knock one of them out of the park real fast. Compliments. First of all, give more compliments. Pretty simple. Okay. They show what you value. If somebody does something that you're a fan of, you don't need to celebrate it, but compliment it. It tells people I value this about you. You walking through the store and you see a kid behaving. We often see people give the double look, like, "What are you doing, kid?" when a kid's misbehaving. Who's giving the kid the good old smile and or not the creepy one? Come on, folks. Like, let's lay off the creepy one. But or maybe just saying, "Hey, when I came around the aisle, I saw that your mom was correcting you or your dad was correcting you, and you did a great job of listening to them." Nothing wrong with that. I mean, lots of people will still be on edge when you start talking to their child. So be careful. You want to be thoughtful of that. But in our world, we've gotten so protective in sometimes the wrong ways. And that is something that could happen. You could compliment things that you value. It's a way of making sure it permeates out into the world and people understand who you are, what you stand for in a healthy way. Okay. So that's compliments. Pretty easy there. Now, taking compliments, we gotta dig a little different. When it comes to taking compliments, the answer is memorize these two words. Thank you. That's it. That straight up, that is all there is to it. Memorize, thank you, and use it. I don't care if it's uncomfortable. I don't care if you think you deserve it or not. It's irrelevant. If somebody wants to compliment you, your response is simply thank you. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to downplay it. You don't have to exaggerate it. Just say thank you. It's that simple. And that takes care of compliments, folks. But let's dig into celebrations. This one gets a little trickier here. Compliments and celebrations express your values. When we celebrate, we're expressing that something is very important to us. So we celebrate, sometimes we'll celebrate things. Recently, we just celebrated a high school graduation. What we are expressing in that moment is that we value growth or education or both. We value growth, and that is worthy of celebrating under certain circumstances. Do I celebrate every time a kid goes to class? I guess it depends on how many times they didn't go to class. You're starting to catch on here, folks. I know it's coming. So what should be celebrated? It depends on your season in life and the state that you're in. So for some people to celebrate going to class, absolutely. How do they celebrate it? I mean, that's not a big old party kind of a celebration, but it ought to be recognized, complimented, and maybe even celebrated. Hey, I saw you came to class today. Good job. Compliment. Celebrate. How about if you come for another 2 weeks straight, we'll have a piece of pie from the Pie Hut. That's a little place in my little tiny town. All right. Why why would we celebrate somebody coming to class for 2 weeks? Only if they have a pattern of not attending, right? Because in those situations, their mindset is skip, 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 skip. And we want to encourage growth. And so maybe we'll sit down and have a piece of pie from the Pie Hut. Or, maybe a food thing isn't a good idea for you. So you'll say, hey, I'll bring you a deck of cards and we can play a game of cards. That's a celebration for some people. So what should be celebrated? A lot of people, I've actually seen things out there like you shouldn't celebrate birthdays because this is mind-boggling to me, because in the Christian religion, the first several people that are commented about having birthdays are all terrible, terrible kings. Well, true, but your birth mattered. Look, I fell into this myself. A little anecdotal personal story here for a moment. For a long time, I did not value my own birthday. I thought, I actually, for defense mechanisms, decided it didn't matter at all because I had many birthdays where it was not celebrated when I was a kid or forgotten in some cases. And I began to believe that my birthday didn't matter. Well, if you follow that pathway, folks, what happens if you keep going? Eventually you end on I don't matter. My birth was not important because I am not important. We don't want to go down that path. So should you celebrate birthdays? Yeah, absolutely. Should you celebrate them sometimes the way that we do, taking on thousands of dollars in debt or spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a sweet 16? Or I would say probably not. But we haven't gotten to the how you celebrate yet. We're only talking about what should be celebrated. Do you think we should celebrate holidays? 4th of July is coming up. We just ended, like Juneteenth just happened. Memorial Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day. These are all opportunities to celebrate. Here's the thing. Have you ever been in a special day and thought to yourself, or maybe even said out loud, every day should be like this? Yes. That is a better approach. Not a celebration, but a day where you are treated or treating others as though they are important and they are special. If we did that more routinely, what celebrations would we really need to have? Probably not too many. Well, but the LGBTQ community needs a celebration. Do they? If we are treating them with respect and love, that doesn't mean we're condoning all of everybody's behaviors. I'm not suggesting that. But if we treated each other with respect and love, would we need to celebrate LGBTQ? Would we need to celebrate Christmas if on a regular basis people valued and loved Christ? Would we need to celebrate your birthday if every day of your life you were treated as though you are valuable and special and important? Probably not as much, which means you could actually reduce the more extreme celebrations by a lot, saving time, money, energy, all kinds of stuff. So let's talk about how to celebrate. I want to get this out of the way. Gifts are a love language. So sometimes gifts are appropriate ways to celebrate. Birthdays, 4th of July, maybe it's gifts. Yeah, my favorite one, growing up, because I was a naive child and I thought leprechauns were real. Wait a minute, aren't leprechauns are real, right? I don't know. So I would go out looking for leprechauns on St. Patrick's Day, and my family, my at the time my babysitters, I was a kid, caught on to I was out in the fields looking for leprechauns, and they started hiding stuff out there, and then I would find it, and then I was like, for sure they're real. And it was awesome. I loved it. Loved it. It was fun. It was entertaining. I didn't know what it was all the holiday itself was all about. I knew what leprechauns were in my head. That was it. Now, if we're going to celebrate something, the how is, if I'll sum it up in this, and then I'll explain a little further. The how can be summarized with intentionality. Be purposeful in how you celebrate. How big do you make something? How small do you make something? Intentionally decide how frequent, how intense, and how long you celebrate. We have these here in the US. We have all kinds of holidays to celebrate this or celebrate that. But here's the reality: almost all of them are going to expire at some point. Right now, we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. every February, I believe, right? And right around the 19th or something like that. Every year we celebrate that. But if we're doing a better job year after year, and a couple of decades pass and maybe a century pass, don't you think it's reasonable that we might remember Martin Luther King Jr., but we may not celebrate it? Because my hope would be there would be other things that percolate and become celebration worthy as well. So, intentionality. How often? How intense is the celebration? So, frequency, the intensity, and the duration. How long do we give it a day? Do we give it a week? Do we give it a month? Like, these are very simple concepts that we are forgetting when we do something like Pride Month. Duration matters. When we are doing things like Black Month, Black History Month, I think, I don't remember what it's all called. Look, it matters. We don't do other kinds of celebrations because there's no need. There's no need in the United States to do a white month. There's no need to do a hetero month. There should eventually be zero need, and maybe we're approaching that, and maybe that's part of the friction, for LGBTQ month, Pride Month. There should be no need for Black Month. We should be eliminating these as we make progress, because that would be intention. Our forefathers here in the United States are not people to worship. Our presidents are not people to worship. Right? We celebrate oftentimes very unintentionally. I'm all for recognizing that people have done great things. But when we can get down to saying, hey, let's celebrate George Washington for what he did for the United States. We're going to do 2 minutes of silence at 12 o'clock on this date every year. That would be way better to me. Or as we have done President's Day, way better. Let's celebrate them all, lump them together. They're special. We can highlight whichever ones we want for our family and our friends. Voila. And there you go. That's very intentional approach to celebrations. How do you recognize the things that are valuable to you? That's what we do when we celebrate. Should you celebrate your graduation from college? Sure. No problem with that. Something I learned from my grandfather, though. If you put your diploma on your wall, and I have nothing against any of you who have put your diploma on your wall, but let's be real. It's not worthy of celebration every day for the rest of your life. That's ridiculous. Because if you put it on your wall and you don't show up and help people, for me as a counselor, if I don't show up and help people, there's a couple of things that can happen. Number one, I could not serve them very well. And number two, they could die. Most of my clients are not crisis clients these days, but I've done crisis treatment for almost 10 years. And some of them, if I didn't show up and serve them, they could die. Am I their hero because they didn't die? Absolutely not. But did that piece of paper do a damn thing? No. All it did, the only thing it did was open the door for me to be able to sit in front of them or stand in front of them or go on a walk with them and help them get through whatever they were in. So intentionality matters a lot. If you put your diploma on the wall, I'm not going to judge you. Just understand it's not celebration worthy with every client, every day, all the time, because that's ridiculous. Just like you get a high school diploma, not worthy of celebration every day. That's a one-time rite of passage kind of celebration. Hey, we're proud of you for growing. Now the expectation is you know how to do it and you will keep doing it. So we won't celebrate every growth. Yay, you brushed your teeth when you're a kid. We'd celebrate that, but we're not going to celebrate that every day. Why? Intentionality. All celebrations have an expiration. All of them. Compliments, on the other hand, no expiration on that. You can compliment people as much as you want. And I encourage you to do it. Absolutely. You should. Where, when, how, what? Like, these are all questions that you could be asking about compliments and celebrations. But remember, it's really going to depend. If you're a straight A student your entire life, there does come a time where that isn't celebrated, not because it's not valuable, but because it becomes the expectation. It becomes a part of who you are. You're just a good student. So when we talk about compliments and celebrations from a therapeutic lens, when people come to me and they ask me, hey, Jeremiah, what should we celebrate? How should we celebrate? And how do I respond to compliments? Like, I went over the compliments thing. The answer is going to be always, it depends, which means you're going to have to get to know the people in front of you, which would be a great thing to do anyway. I hope that this little brief, explanation of compliments and celebrations, the what should be celebrated, the how, and what do we do with compliments. I hope this was helpful. And here's the thing. If it's not helpful to you, that's okay. I get it. Many of you probably get this already. But do me a favor. You know somebody who needs this. Send it to them. Invite them into this part. Maybe you don't know how to teach it, but you know how important it is. Send them this and then have a conversation. It would be good to get people the help that they need. I hope this was good. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.